Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a short statement to make, and then I will take some questions. Today, the US attempted to mislead the international community by resorting to lies and fabrications to supposedly initiate a mechanism under Resolution 2231. According to conclusive legal facts, the US is not a JCPOA participant and has no right to trigger the so-called snapback mechanism, and its arbitrary interpretation of Resolution 2231 cannot change this reality. Thus, we are of the firm conviction that the letter sent by the US today to the Security Council's president and all the references therein is null and void and has no legal standing and thus inadmissible. Failed in its recent attempt to convince the Security Council to impose arms embargo on Iran, this time the US intends to apply its so-called maximum pressure policy on the UN, the Security Council, and its members. The US move is a clear example of abusing the process, which is prohibited under international law. This is nothing but a legal and political bullying. Through political maneuvering, media campaign, and creating legal confusion, the US wants to create a self-arrogated right which does not exist. The US has no such right because it has officially ceased, as President Trump said, its participation in the JCPOA, and in practice, since May 8, 2018, it has not participated in any JCPOA-related meetings, events, or activities. The US officials themselves have admitted repeatedly in the past 2 years that the US has no right to a snapback since it is not a JCPOA participant anymore. No country can claim for a right that it has already abandoned. This is an established principle of international law. Even if the US were in the JCPOA, it could not have triggered snapback for 3 reasons. First, it continues to grossly violate its obligations under Resolution 2231 and under international law. A party which does not fulfill its own obligations cannot be recognized as retaining the rights which it claims to derive from that relationship. Second, the exhaustion of the JCPOA dispute resolution process is an essential prerequisite of initiating a snapback, and the US has not even started that process. Third, Resolution 2231 stipulates that a party initiating a snapback must make good faith efforts to resolve the issue before notifying the Council. The US not only lacks good faith in initiating a snapback, but its policies and practices clearly indicate that it continues to have bad faith towards the JCPOA and Resolution 2231 and the Security Council. Therefore, the international community must resist the US outlaw behavior and protect the UN's credibility and ensure the rule of law. Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. Given this move by the United States, does this kill the nuclear deal, or will Iran continue to stick with and try and preserve the nuclear deal?
You know, as we have already said on numerous occasions, there are different options available to Iran. All are under international law. But the fact of the matter is that you look at what's going on in the Security Council. You just see that the members of the Security Council just last week, how they reacted to the US proposal. It was a disaster. It was really something that the US should have avoided, because that was a clear case of isolation at the international level. So the permanent member of the Security Council is acting like a child who is being ridiculed by the other members of the international community, particularly at the Security Council. So the US has no legal argument whatsoever to present itself as a participant of JCPOA. The US has no political support within the Security Council, and we are definitely confident that the Security Council will reject the latest US move, because the latest US move has no place in international law and has no place in the UN Charter, does not enjoy the political support of the members of the Security Council, and is definitely doomed to failure.
So the nuclear deal lives on?
We are concentrating in the Security Council, and I'm sure that the members of the Security Council who have already expressed their positions in support of JCPOA and in rejection of the American move will once again call for the full implementation of JCPOA and Resolution 2231.
Thank you.
Mr. Ambassador, Secretary Pompeo just told us that the language of the Resolution 2231 is very clear and simple. And I think it's paragraph 10 that says that the US is a participant. And there is no other resolution in the Security Council that says the opposite. So they come here with a legal argument. What's your response to this point in particular? Thank you.
This is not a real legal argument. It's a fake legal argument. The US has no legal authority. The US has no legal argument whatsoever. They are referring to paragraph 10, but paragraph 10 talks about dispute resolution mechanism, which is related to the discussions in paragraph 36 of JCPOA. So since they have left JCPOA, they do not dare to talk about JCPOA and paragraph 36 and 37 of JCPOA, just talking about paragraph 10 and 11 of Resolution 2231, which are in line with paragraphs 36 and 37. So by just looking at half of the glass, that is not going to resolve the issues that the US has to explain to the whole world why they are taking such a ridiculous proposition and such a ridiculous legal argument.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. This would be taking effect just a very few weeks before the US election. There have been some reports that Iran might wait until after the US election before taking any serious action in retaliation for what the United States has just invoked. Do you see this as a possible scenario?
First of all, let me tell you for sure, and we are confident, that nothing is going to happen in 30 or 31 days, because the US has to enjoy the support of the Security Council, which does not exist. The US position is being ridiculed in the Security Council. So nothing is going to happen in 31 days from now. Second, on the US election, we are not interested in involving ourselves in the US election. It is up to the American people to decide who the next president should be. And we are talking about the US obligations, the obligations of the United States government. No matter who is in charge in Washington, the US has certain international obligations which unfortunately have been ignored in the last couple of years. So what we are asking is to uphold international law, to respect the rules of international law, and to respect Resolution 2231. Secretary Pompeo talks about two separate things. He believes that JCPOA is different, is distinct from Resolution 2231. Resolution 2231 has two parts. The first part is JCPOA. So you cannot claim that one part of certain thing is different from the whole thing. So that is why they should go back and read the document the US government approved, the US government endorsed in the Security Council, and then act based on their obligations in accordance with international law.
Thank you, Ambassador Tissam Azim from Al Arab Al Jadid newspaper. So I have two questions. First, regarding the European countries, France, Germany, and Britain, what are your expectations from these countries, and which role you think they should take? And also regarding the conversation today between Mr. Zarif and the Secretary General, could you say more to that? Thank you.
First, our expectation from every member of the United Nations, including from our European colleagues, is that they should respect the rules of the game. And the rules of the game is, in this case, is Resolution 2231. And we expect every country to implement their obligations based on the resolution. And we also have expectation that countries should resist the American bullying. Because for the last couple of years, we have been witnessing the bullying practice being done not only against JCPOA, but against most international agreements. So the members of the United Nations are expected to stand against violation of international law, to stand against bullying, and that includes the participants in the JCPOA. As for the meeting between the Secretary General, I'm sorry, the telephone call between the Secretary General and Dr. Zarif, they talked about a host of issues, including JCPOA and Resolution 2231, and I will stop at this.
Thank you. Ambassador, will Iran move ahead with weapons purchases when the arms embargo expires in October? And what can Iran do? What would Iran do if the U.S. attempts to block those sales? Thank you.
First of all, as I said, we are confident that nothing is going to happen in the next 30 days. So the U.S. attempt is in futility. Therefore, the arms embargo will be lifted. And it depends on the circumstances, whether Iran wishes to buy arms or to sell arms. We will be, acting in accordance with our sovereign rights. Whatever we need, we will do in accordance with our needs, in our national interests, and nobody can prevent the normal trade, legal trade between Iran and other countries. One last question, please.
Thank you. Kristen Salumi from Al Jazeera English. Can you respond to the U.S. allegations that Iran is in violation, that you've been enriching uranium and supplying weapons to proxy groups in the Middle East? How do you respond?
No, we are not. We are not in violation of our rights. We waited for a year after U.S. withdrawal in May 2018. We waited for a year to be compensated for the losses that the U.S. withdrawal acted against Iran. After 1 year, we came to this conclusion that we have to act in accordance with Articles 26 and 36 of JCPOA. In fact, we initiated the dispute resolution mechanism back in May 18, 2 days after the U.S. withdrawal, but we waited for a year, and then we had to resort to certain provisions in Resolution 2231 and JCPOA in order to preserve our rights, and this is not being considered as violation of international law. Thank you very much.